Mike was a year younger than me, but he could be very vicious in his competition. And, I remember going through a slump one time, and I was shooting. I was working with a sports psychologist, and I was trying to have the positive mindset. And when I'd shoot in this drill, he'd say brick, brick, brick. And I remember that getting to me. And I'm thinking, man, it shouldn't get to me. I should be mentally tougher than that. But he's a competitive guy, and he's going to talk junk. And if you're not strong enough to handle it, you'll crumble. And he'd probably rather handle that, see that in practice, than see it in the game. And I remember the stories about Steve Kerr and Steve Kerr getting into it with the Bulls in practice. And I think they got into a fist fight or something. Mm-hmm. And Michael grew to respect him because Steve didn't back down. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing. He didn't want you to back down. He just wants you to have a toughness that he knows that he can count on when the game gets tough. And so he's going to challenge you to see where that floor is in you. And once he finds the floor, he's either going to embrace you as a teammate if you have a high floor, or if you have a low floor, he's not going to show a lot of respect to you and probably won't give you the time of day.
Yeah. I remember this game 6 against the Trailblazers, and they were losing by 16 points going the fourth quarter. And he's sitting down on the bench, and I remember watching him because chances are they're going to game 7 at this point. And the bench comes in, and these are the guys you're probably talking about. And we can only imagine what he had done to ready those guys for that moment. And they made the run. Now he came in and finished them off. But if it wasn't probably for all those practices and for all those pushing and to yell the guys, break, 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 right? They probably don't win. They don't win their play. Maybe they win game 7, but they probably lose game 6. So they ended up winning that game, in a game they probably shouldn't have won, because the bench came in. The guys that are role players that didn't typically play in those moments played in that moment, probably because of what you're talking about. Yeah. And it's tough. Yeah.
Well, the moments in practice were probably tougher for them than the moments of playing the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Because Michael made practice tough. And that's the one thing that, I think he's legendary about, is you're going to practice, and you're going to practice hard.
Yeah.
And you're going to compete. Larry Bird the same way. The great players create the culture for their teams. And Michael was that way. He never begged out of practice. Larry was that way with the Celtics. And I think the great players set the tone, where if a great player is all of a sudden begging out of practice, then everyone can take, they could take a day off, and that'll get you beat.